Hey everybody, Thrasher here. Have you ever wanted to learn a couple of confusing sounding words and then be even more confused by their definitions? Then I have the video for you. In this topic, we're looking at two terms, two descriptions, two categories of forces. Forces can be conservative or non-conservative. We're going to learn what that means. It has to do with the work that they can do. And obviously, we haven't learned about work until this sequence of videos. That's why we haven't talked about it before. But this is going to be important when we start moving into something known as conservation of energy. So, oh my gosh, jargon, yes. Confusing vocabulary, yes. But it is important if you really want to have a solid understanding of what it means for energy to be conserved. So here we go. Forces fall into one of two categories. And the category is based on how they do work. What is going on when these forces are doing work, okay? The following are the technical definitions. If you pull up a college textbook about physics and you try and find what the definition of conservative forces or non-conservative forces, you're going to see two definitions similar to this. They are terrible. And by that I mean they're terribly confusing. Okay, let's see what it means. The following are two definitions if a force is considered, if it is called conservative. Number one, a force is conservative when the work it does on a moving object is independent of the path between the object's initial and final position. Oh, I read that and I think, what the heck does that mean? Maybe the second one is better. A force is conservative when it does no net work on an object moving around a closed path, starting and finishing at the same location, the same point. Okay, not any better. These are very confusing definitions. Now, we'll come back to them. But while it's not an official definition, I wouldn't recommend you put this on your PhD thesis in your physics credential program. I have an alternate definition that I think is going to help us out a little bit better than these two. A force is called conservative. We refer to a force as conservative if the work it does can be undone. Now, I know that's still not very clear, but I think this is going to be more clear when we see an example. Okay? Something to remember about work. Remember, work can be positive if the force and the displacement are in the same direction, and also work can be negative if the force and the displacement are in opposite directions. So imagine a scenario where a force is first doing positive work, and then later it does some negative work. That might cause the work to cancel out. It might cause the work to be undone. And therefore, it's going to lead to this definition. I know you're still confused. The best way to see this is with an example, okay? So let's look at the work done by the force due to gravity as this person is climbing up a ladder to get to the diving board in a pool. So I have this nice pool here. There is a ladder going vertically upward. This person wants to get to the top so they can jump down and have some fun time at the pool, okay? Now we're dealing with the force due to the weight, the force due to gravity. Normally I just do uppercase W, but remember that's also work, so I don't want us to be confused. We're looking at the force due to weight, that's mg, and remember the force due to weight is always acting straight down. What is going on with the work done by gravity when this person is going up the ladder? When they're going up the ladder, so let's say they start right here, and then they're traveling up the ladder until they get to here. They are, ta-da, triumphant. What is going on with the work done by gravity? Well, the work done by gravity, is it positive or negative? The force is acting downwards. The force done by gravity is downwards, but the student, they moved upwards. The displacement was upwards. So remember, work is equal to force multiplied by d. It would be negative on the way up. So as they climb higher and higher and higher and higher, they get to the top, they have some negative amount of work. Okay, could I undo that somehow? Could I all of a sudden have positive work from this force on this person? Yeah, I could. The student could, jump off the diving board. When they dive off the board, oh my God, they got a little bigger. Ooh, Aha! When they're diving off the board, now what's happening when they're going down? When they're going down, the force due to gravity is still down. The weight due to gravity is still downward. But now their displacement, down, 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 their displacement is down. I know they're going down, but remember, for work, it's if the two are in the same direction. They are in the same direction, so now the work done by gravity is positive. Oh, they had negative work on the way up. They have positive work going back down. Those can cancel out by the time they get to the same location because the distance going up and the distance going down would be the same, right? Oh, that means the force due to gravity is conservative. Okay, again, I'll repeat. The force due to gravity, or maybe I should have said the force due to weight because we've always used that W. The weight force is conservative because when the work goes up and the work goes back down, they end up undoing. They end up canceling. Remember, that was Mr. Thrasher's cheat definition. Does our official definition still hold true? Let's try it again for this force due to weight. Number one, the force is conservative when the work it does on an object is independent of the path between the object's initial and final position. What do I mean by that? Remember, the work done by the weight, well, that's equal to the force times the displacement. If they go from here to here, it doesn't matter if the person first goes up a little bit and, they get a little scared. Then they start climbing back down. Oh, now their distance is going down. But maybe, they gain some more courage. And then they start going up again. Oh, but now they're a little higher and they want to go back down. Oh, but somebody's cheering them on. And eventually they finally get all the way up to the top. Even though they went up and then down and then down and then up and then up and then down, eventually they were here, they were here. They got to this same height, whether you call it D or H or whatever. No matter how much time it took, no matter their path, they ultimately have this same H, so the work is the same regardless. So criteria number one is met. How about criteria two? A force is conservative when it does no net work on an object moving around a closed path starting and finishing at the same point. That's what I said earlier. The student starts here, and on the way up, they have negative work. But then on the way back down, they have positive work. By the time they get to that same location, that closed path, it canceled. There was no net work done. This number two is actually the most similar to my little cheat. But these two things still work for the force due to gravity, the work done by gravity. So that force, the weight force, the force done by weight, that's a conservative force. Okay. Well, how about an anti-example? What's an example that is not conservative? Well, let's look at friction. Is friction a conservative or a non-conservative force? Let's approach this one. Okay, so let's say I'm pushing on this box, pushing with some force F, okay, and the box travels from this location to this location. The box ends up right here, okay? So I push some distance d, the force of friction, because that's what I'm looking at. The force of friction, well, that's acting in the opposite direction. Here's friction here. So is the work done by friction positive or negative? The force is to the left. The displacement was to the right. The work done by friction is negative. Remember, that causes a loss of energy. Okay, so from going here to here, it has negative work. Can that be undone? Remember, I could kind of cancel the weight force or the work done by the weight force when I just change direction. So let's say now my person just flipped to the other side and they're like, all right, I want to cancel that work done by friction here. So now they start pushing to the left and the box, once again, it ends up over here. Now maybe back where it started. So I have this displacement D again. What direction is the force acting now? The frictional force is now acting because friction opposes sliding motion. Friction is pointing in the opposite direction. So friction is now pointing to the right. The displacement is to the left. Now the work done by friction is still negative. Remember, work is equal to the force times the displacement. And if they're in opposite directions, it's negative. Both of these scenarios, the work done by friction is negative because in both scenarios, the force and the displacement were opposite. I did not cancel out. I didn't have positive one way and negative the other way. So friction, because I can't cancel out, I can't undo the work. Friction is a non-conservative force. That's the label if I can't undo it. And in fact, gang, the vast majority of forces are non-conservative. If you think of just general pushing forces, punching forces, kicking forces, normal forces, those are non-conservative. It's pretty rare for a force to be undoable, the work to be undoable, to be conservative. So friction is an example of a non-conservative force, and in fact, most forces are also, because you can't simply undo. If I punch something to the right, me punching in the opposite direction doesn't undo the work that was done, okay? So these two definitions are going to be important, particularly next class, next set of videos. I know it's kind of jargon heavy, but it is important if we're going to fully understand what it means to conserve energy, all right? So hopefully that helps out a little bit with these two terms. That's the end of this video. Thanks a lot for watching.